Do I give instructions about the interpretation? Is that my job? Yeah. How do people do it?
Click the globe.
Okay.
As interpretation.
So, yeah, hello everybody. We're just starting the session. My name's Ksantikara, and for those of you that are Spanish speakers, you can press the globe at the bottom of Zoom. There's a globe at the bottom, and you can click Spanish. And Sadaruchi is there to speak Spanish to you. So yes, a good evening from Adhisthana. My name's Ksantikara. Actually, behind me you can't see, but there's other members of the Adhisthana community. And this is the final session of Triratna Day. It's 10 o'clock here, and I wasn't up at 5 a.m., but some of the people around me were up at 5 a.m. So yeah, if there's anyone else just arriving, you can, and you would like Spanish interpretation, then you click the globe at the bottom and pick Spanish.
Just maybe sort of Ruchi can give those instructions in Spanish, because maybe some Spanish speakers can't understand what you're saying.
Why don't you do it, Ruchiramati?
All right, yeah. Pues bienvenidos a todas las personas de habla hispana. Y vamos a tener esta sesión en inglés, pero hay una traducción simultánea al español. Entonces en Zoom tienes en la parte de abajo un icono de un globo o un mundo. Y ahí puedes darle clic y seleccionar español.
Thank you very much, Ruchiramati. I can't provide the English translation to that. When do we start the video? Okay, I'm in charge. Okay, so everyone, I'm in charge. I've just found out that I'm in charge. That's good. So we'll just wait another minute or half a minute, and then we'll begin. And we begin by watching a video together from Future Dharma Fund. Yeah. But once again, do click the interpretation button and click Spanish if that's what you need. Yeah. So is it time to watch the video?
Guru Padma Siddhi Hum Om Ahum Jetsun 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 Guru Padma Siddhi Hum Om Ahum Sanguru Padma Siddhi Om Ahum Jet 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 Sanguru Padma Siddhi
Great. Yeah, so really positive images there in that Future Dharma Fund video. Sort of like going to the cinema, and before the cinema you get the trailers and the adverts. I quite like starting there, kind of warming us up for, well, what at Adhisthana is our evening together. And yes, I just think really positive images and messages in that Future Dharma Fund video. I really care about those images and the people in them. I was particularly struck by the videos of Sangharachitas of Bante's funeral here at Adhisthana. And I came along to that a few years ago. At that point, I was living at the London Buddhist Centre and came on a coach. It was just so moving to be at Adhisthana with what felt like thousands and thousands of people. It was probably only about a couple of thousand people who had been really strongly affected by Triratna. It had a really positive effect in their lives. And this evening session is called Triratna, What Next? So we're going to get to that. But I think Future Dharma Fund plays a really important role in Triratna, What's Next? It's really wonderful to see an organisation not just talking good ideas, not just thinking good ideas, but supporting them, giving them money, and allowing them to happen. So together on Triratna Day today, we are hoping to raise £15,000, or I guess 15,000 equivalent in your currency. If 250 of us over the course of today gave £60 each, or a similar amount, then we would reach that target of £15,000, and Future Dharma Fund would have more money to spend on just sort of wonderful, world-changing things. So I'd really encourage you to give if you can, and even if you can't, you could give something small. So far we've raised £4,100, and this is the last session of the day, and the target is 15,000. So between us, what we're going to do, the 85 of us here this evening, is we're collectively, it's on us now to donate £10,000. So maybe that will come from just one of you. So if you've got £10,000 going to spare, then donate it. But otherwise, think about donating £60 to Future Dharma Fund. Okay, so I'm really pleased to be joined this evening by a panel of young order members. Maybe we could start to pin them so other people can see them. And I haven't said, I don't know to some of you, but my name's Ksantikara, and it's wonderful to see so many of you join us. There's a few other members of the Adhisthana community here. It's 10 o'clock here at Adhisthana in the UK. Really good to have you here. I imagine you've caught this message, but if you're a Spanish speaker, you can press the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen for Spanish. Good. Okay, so the form of the evening is we're going to spend just over an hour together, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. What we're going to do is I'm going to have a discussion with these young order members that you can see next to me or underneath or above. I'm not sure how they look to you. I'll introduce them in a minute. So we're going to talk together for about 45 minutes. And then I'm going to introduce Sanghadeva, who's over here in the background. And he's going to, kind of conclude Triratna Day with a short talk. And then we'll end the day there. A day that's been really full, inspiring, and sort of meaningful. I'm joined this evening by 4 young order members from Australia, the UK, and Mexico. So I'm going to just ask them to introduce themselves now to you.
Great. Thanks, Ksantikara. I might start. I hope you can hear me okay. My name is Varadhi. I was ordained last year. It feels like. I was privately ordained in Sydney at my preceptor's shrine room, and then publicly ordained in Melbourne at my friend's shrine room next door to where I was living at the time. So it's been quite a journey getting to this point. And it's just lovely that we have these opportunities now to work with what's happening as it's happening. It's just wonderful to be here, especially wonderful to be connected to Adhisthana. I spent a lovely 5 months there in 2017. I did the Dharma Life course there, and some of my friends from the Dharma Life course, I can see them on this call, and it was just really, I think, one of the best times in my life. I remember helping build the shrine room, and just so many wonderful things happened there. So it's actually quite special for me to be here now, and it feels like I'm joining in from Adhisthana. So yeah, it's lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Varadhi.
My name is Moksharati, and I was ordained this year in January in a retreat center called Chintamani in Morelos, Mexico. Yeah, and I'm really glad being here, and I feel a connection with Adhisthana, especially because Bhante Sangrakshita was living there, and now there is his burial, I think. So I spent a couple of days there, and I particularly remember a couple of prostrations I did a couple of prostrations to the burial mound of Sangrakshita. So that is quite strong.
Hello, my name is Moksharati, and I was ordained in 2019 at Akashavana. Yeah, and I'm currently at Dharma Retreat Centre in Scotland. And I did the Dharma Life course as well in 2016, the 5 months. And some of my friends from that course are also on this call, so hello. So Adhisthana does hold a very special place in my heart from that time. It was a very formative time for me. Probably similarly one of the happiest times in my life. So it's been really good to connect back into that space throughout the day, having not been able to be there for over a year. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruchiramati. Ruchiramati in Spanish. I'm from Mexico, Toluca. I was ordained in 2019 with a good friend, Ksantikara, in Buhialoka. And I've only been once in Adhisthana, just for a couple of days, but it really had an impact on me. I remember very well Yashadeva coming to me with great energy, speaking in Spanish, which was quite surprising for me. I didn't expect that. And just like being a friend, asking me to help him with the library that they were mounting and so on. And then, of course, meeting Bhante and feeling very, very nervous about working with him. So yeah, I have Adhisthana deeply in my heart.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. So good to be here together in digital form at least, and worth sort of mentioning as well that well, I guess me included, we're not just young order members in terms of age, but also young in terms of, I think we've all been ordained within the last 2 years. Some of us within the last few months even. Really good to have you all here this evening. And maybe to just sort of get us started, and then we'll move into more of a discussion. Why don't we go round again in that order? My first kind of question this evening is why did you decide to get ordained? Yeah, why did you ask for that to happen? Or why did it happen in the end? Why was that something you wanted for your life? Part of the vision for this evening is to kind of look forward into the future. And particularly for us as people who have recently been ordained, it's something that's going to play out into the future, isn't it? For, hopefully quite a long time. So I just wondered if we could just, maybe even just briefly, just go around and say something of why we wanted that for our life. Or, why did we make that commitment? Would you mind starting us off with that, Varadhi? Something of that?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question, isn't it? And every time I think about it, there's a different answer. So it's very live. It's a question that has to be answered from where I am right now, I think. And I think something about it just felt right, in the sense that it was a context in which it could be my whole life. I think that was something that was really important to me. It wasn't just going to be an interest, it was going to be, the Dharma was going to be my whole life. And there was no limits to what an order member is. I was reflecting on this session and I thought, what do I really want to say? And it's about potential, as an order member, as one is kind of training for ordination and seemingly post-ordination, there's this sense of ever-expanding potential, I think. And I think that was really attractive to me, and also to be able to be one of the conditions to help that happen for Triratna. Because, to bring it back to young people, we do need more young people, right? As in, I'd like to see more people that come into the order or are a part of the order that are, younger. And one way to kind of make that happen is to be that, that was kind of something that really inspired me to kind of, the question of what can I do about this myself, because it seems like, that's the only way to kind of be a part of building that. So that was a big inspiration for me to join the order.
Thank you. And Moksharati?
There's not a good answer to it also. It's quite difficult. A question. It's more of a feeling in a way. It's something that I felt like doing. And I think it has to do that I don't think there's something else better to do with my life or something like that. There's that feeling in me. So there's nothing better to do with my life for the world or for myself. So that's why I wanted to join the order.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, Moksharati. I think it just seemed like, what else would I do with my life? Like having met the Dharma, having met Triratna, that resonance with the three jewels and with Bante's expression of the centrality of going for refuge, and the Sangha and the friendships, and it provided a context in which I felt like I could offer the most goodness to the world, I suppose, within a collective that was also trying to do that. So it wasn't just kind of me against the world. It was a collective of people trying to bring goodness that weren't against anything. And that seemed like quite a, I don't know, inspiring and challenging ideal that I wanted to move towards.
Yeah, I think I have the same answer in a way. I remember, finishing one class in university, going back home, and feeling quite disappointed with the life I was living, with the ideal of what else is there for me and the world doing this. And yeah, I had like several disappointments professionally, but I still came back to the Buddhist center. So that for me was like a clear image of what was the constant in my life. And I had this, I clearly thought that I wanted to do something useful with my life, that I didn't want to regret spending my time in, I don't know, things that don't help the world. So the thing that more clearly expressed that was asking for ordination.
Thank you, Ruchiramati. Yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, it's really enjoyable to hear people talk about something that means so much to them, and also to kind of get you guys to do it in quite a short. You could talk about that for longer, I'm sure. And it's really struck me today that we spent much of the day today, this online Triratna day, hearing from people who were engaged in sort of starting things up. People that went to Australia or other places and sort of got things going, and a real kind of sense of tradition and legacy and people behind us that sort of set something up. And then, what many of us were saying then, many of you were saying then, was meeting something, kind of being given something, a class, a vision, someone to try and grow up to be like. So I guess one area I'm interested in is then how do you kind of go about responding to that? So you've all sort of said something of, I really came along to a center, or I met someone and I felt like I've really been given something or shown something. So it's kind of a gift. And then I just sort of wonder how you go about trying to live that gift out. So maybe just even in terms of ordination, you've now joined the order. What do you sort of then, do about it? Which could be a kind of external or internal kind of answer. But yeah, I wonder if one of you could say something about that, something of this kind of, there's this legacy behind you and you've been given something and then now you've kind of got it, as it were. What are you kind of trying to do with it as individuals? We don't have to go around in order anymore, so someone can just jump in.
I can jump in even though it's in order, not in order. Because as you were speaking, I just had this this thought of, after ordination, it seems like, or as an order member, that there's things that I do, but also something happens that's kind of not explicit. There's this implicit kind of going into something that I feel somehow more useful. I know that word isn't very, it doesn't really describe what I'm trying to say, but it's like something changes and then there's more clarity of purpose or something, that I don't have to think so hard about it, or I don't have to kind of, explicitly consider all the things that I'm doing, which I feel like I am. I'm the young person's coordinator for a region and all these other things that I'm kind of actively doing. But there's also this sense of kind of confidence in this implicit usefulness or goodness, that surprised me actually. This kind of inner confidence that comes with that. I don't know if anybody else had that experience, but it was surprising to me.
Yeah, I can really resonate with that. Actually, I remember when we started doing things here, we were much more younger with Sanghadeva, who's somewhere around there. He had this huge energy and oh yeah, he's right. He had this huge
playful desire of sharing the Dharma. And what our friends, especially Ruchiramati in Mexico, gave us and gave him especially, was the confidence to do that, the confidence to talk about the Dharma, to make friends through the Dharma, to be contagious about the inspiration that Dharma gives us. So for me, it's confidence what others have given us, apart from obviously wisdom and friendship and the three jewels, of course.
Yeah, one of the responses I had was the theme of gratitude, and like we're in experiencing so much gratitude for what we've been given. So the natural response to that is generosity, is to want to give back what we've received, or open out what we've received. And I think that was a theme like before ordination, and then I think there's something quite pivotal about the kind of karmic current that kind of passes through. Something happens at ordination where that I don't know, widens out or something, and then wanting to give back. So I guess when I was ordained, I was at the London Buddhist Centre with Ksantikara, and like working in the charity shop at Lama's Pajamas, and involved with various teams at the Buddhist Centre there. And now I'm at Dharma Kosher. And for me, I find service quite an inspiring word. Actually, I don't have any problem with wanting to serve the Dharma and serve Bantu's vision. And that is life. Like practice is life, and that comes out of gratitude. Like gratitude is a big inspiration for that generosity.
Yeah, I also quite resonate with that, with gratitude and generosity, like doing the things that need to be done here for the Dharma in Mexico in a way. That's something that has been going on in my mind, like doing what do we need here in Mexico, and doing it and starting it, trying to move it. So with the intention of giving back what I received. It's so much that I can never give back, really. Yeah.
Would you share an example, Moksharati, of something that's needed? You're saying there's things that are needed. What's an example, or what sort of things are they?
Yeah, for example, here in Cuernavaca is a young people's group, so I help with that, and I'm now helping with that. And I think in the future, simply doing new centers. There are so many cities in Mexico that don't have a center. And there's a lot of interest in Mexico, so why not?
Great. Lovely kind of, nice kind of pioneering spirit of lots of cities in Mexico. Let's start some centers. And lovely hearing you all kind of talk about a feeling of gratitude giving rise to generosity, kind of noticing what you've been given, and then wanting to give yourselves. Sort of slightly leads to my next kind of question about how you joining the order, particularly, I guess, as young people, in, let's say, in the prime of your life, and how does that have an effect on people that aren't you? So you've joined the order. From what you've said so far, that sounds really great. I'm glad I did that. You're glad you did that. Why is it relevant to other people, or why is kind of having people who are ordained in the world a response to the world, or something that's worth having? Is that enough of a question for you to respond to? Yeah, okay, good. Ruchiramati's nodding, so you might have to start us off.
I mean, I want to come back to confidence, because for me, it's like it can be a vision that people around the world can be Buddhists, can practice the Dharma, can change their lives, and can have an impact on the world. And they don't need to, I don't know, like be a superhero or wait many years. I mean, I think we can give confidence that Buddhism in a way is alive. well, in many ways, is alive, and is alive within many young people who wants, I think, right now to make a positive impact in the world we are living and with the problems we are facing, and to have a vision of being an active change in the world, not by hatred, not by reactivity, but by love and awareness. It can be very inspiring. So I think we can be that, and we can be that as friends as well. I mean, not as teachers, not as politicians or whatever. We can do that as friends.
Thank you, Ruchiramati. Anyone got anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I was just thinking, I think it was Dharma Mati in the second session was talking about practicing to see more clearly and love more deeply. And I was thinking about the qualities of empathy and solidarity, and that in joining the order, we're kind of, or even just practicing Buddhism, like being involved with the Sangha, we're working with our minds and working to move beyond our kind of habits and the kind of ego clinging. And so I think whatever I'm doing, like wherever I am in the world, whether I'm like playing Minecraft with my nephews, I'm trying to relate to them from a place of love and compassion, or if I'm in a charity shop in East London meeting different people, or I'm at Dharma Kosha picking up the phone and booking people on retreats. It's like in all those contexts we can offer meeting people with kindness and empathy, and that is just kind of how I want to be in the world, like to have that as my ideal, to move away from reactivity and aversion. So I think that's like, it is like a lot of the circles I move in sometimes they are Buddhist, but there is an outward facing, and that is really important part of my practice. And I think as I've become a Buddhist, that I'm engaging with the world in a better way.
There's a wonderful kind of evocation from both of you of the world being made up of people, and connections between people, and friendship is the way to then sort of affecting others. And Varadhi, you said briefly something about being a young coordinator for your region. Would you just say a little bit more about what that means, what you're doing or what you're trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the Young Persons Coordinator for Australia and New Zealand, and I've been doing that since November last year. And it's mostly on Zoom. So what that means to me is to connect people, connect people who might not have met a lot of other young Buddhists or young people who are interested in the Dharma life. So what I'm trying to do, or what my heart wishes really through Zoom, because that's the tool that we have right now, and hopefully soon face to face, gather people. So even gatherings like this, it means something. We have the practicality of Zoom fatigue and waking up at strange hours, but I know by the end of this meeting, I will have left with a sense of, oh, there's others like me, right? Or there's others who are doing things in a way that's actually really inspiring, And again, this is implicit, and I'm talking too fast, sorry for the translation. There's something that kind of happens that's more than just, what we think that happens. And I think that really inspires me, just gathering people, connecting people, because I can see that in this ongoing way, that this confidence, against that theme that Ruchiramati talked about, this confidence of I can do it, there's others that are like me, and there's an alternative for me as a young person, because that's what I see as my work with young people, as well as my work at, I work at a uni as my day job at a university with young people. what's really needed is meaning and purpose, and we don't see that in social media. You know, what young people see is things that they can aspire for are very limited, actually. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're all here, because we wanted something more. So, you know, how do we create these pathways for people to meet this something more and have confidence that, you know, we're already doing that by just being ourselves.
It links back to something Ruchiramati was saying about you know, being at university and then working professionally, and something about there must be more, and keeping returning to that question. And then I guess luckily there were people around that could give something of an answer and sort of show a way. And Moksharati, I think I can't remember if you work at a centre, but you certainly sort of serve one and give your energy to it. Would you say a little bit more about how you do that, what you sort of do and why?
Yeah, I work in the Cuernavaca Buddhist Center and help with everything, basically, what is needed, especially behind the scenes. But yeah. Yeah, I think the most good that I am doing to other people is being friends with them and trying to connect with people with friendships. And yeah, that is basically, it's like connecting people with friendships and connecting myself with other people one-on-one.
You're again picking up on this theme of trying to be an individual that represents something, trying to live out meaning in your own life. Seems to be something lots of you are saying, living out a sense of meaning in your own life so that other people can catch it, and then kind of gathering and friendship and bringing that into the world. One thing, that kind of, again, partly doing this day together today and gathering people from all over the world. And I've been really impressed that in just over 50 years, Triratna has, spread very widely would be good enough. That would be quite a sort of wow, that's impressive, but also really affected people. It's not just gone to loads of different countries. It's managed to inspire you, Ruchiramati, for example, in Mexico, or Varadhi in Australia. So not just has it sort of, in a quite short period of time, 50 years, to me that seems like ages, that's almost twice my lifetime, but in another way it's quite short, and quite a lot has sort of been achieved. And I wonder if kind of opening it back up to all of you, there's a potential for all of us to live for 50 more years. So we could be at a kind of Triratna Day on the 100th anniversary. Some of us watching probably won't be, but some of us here might make it to the 100th anniversary of Triratna. So with this kind of being called the What Next session of Triratna Day, what would you like to have seen in those 50 years? What in 100 years, what would they be saying looking back to, those 50 years? Would one of you say something, or maybe even all of you, somebody start by saying something about that? It's a tougher question. Ruchiramati, you're nodding enough for me to pick on you again.
I'll have to stop nodding. It is a tough question, because I mean, if we are able to keep doing what all the other members and band have been doing for these 50 years, that's more than enough. I mean, that's a very high standard. So maybe it's not just the what, but the how. And I think we need to engage much more in the new technologies and the internet, of course, and creating maybe even our own network, or I don't know, learning how to use these disruptive technologies in favor of Triratna. And of course, in my context, I would love to see a Buddhist center in every state of Mexico and Latin America, of course. Yeah, I mean, the vision that Bhante had and has fulfilled in these 50 years, I mean, it's amazing. Trying to wish for something more. Yeah, I cannot, right now, I cannot see much more than that, but maybe just how are we going to do it? And I maybe want a very enthusiastic order and movement, a very lively movement and order, diverse, of course. Yeah, maybe more diversity I would love to see in the next 50 years.
Really, yeah, wonderful to hear you picking up on the not so much the what, but the how. And if you just sort of really focus on the how, then maybe the what starts to happen. I think it's a really important point. Anyone else got something to say on this kind of area?
I can follow on the enthusiastic point. I completely agree. That was what I was thinking of, this, keeping this kind of radical edge, this kind of sense of something that's, a real alternative, something that's kind of, Bhante's teachings that really emphasize this radical edge, this enthusiasm, this kind of force for good, the intensity, something of that. I'd really wish to see that kind of grow and stand, inspire people. I guess the inspiration, I'd like to keep alive Bhante's inspiration for the next 50 years. And also this, the Dharma being localized. By that I mean, I'm involved with the Turkish Sangha too, because I'm originally from Turkey. And, what I'd love to see is everything being translated, this to Turkish, and having these, culturally different cultures being embedded within Triratna, and that makes sense in a way for the local culture as well as the wider international audience, like a more blending of that, because I think that's really fun and interesting, and it really helps us see how the Dharma is beyond culture, it's universal, but it can also bring in these subtleties of where people are from, which is what makes them real human beings, so it's our shared connection. I'd really like to see, and I am, I guess, in seeing that happen around the world.
Yeah. So while you were sleeping, Varadhi, Parami gave a talk, which was, that was one of the points she was drawing out. But what did I wanted to add? Yeah, I think the pioneering spirit, yeah, that I think, yeah, it'd be good to have more of that. It's really, and I think particularly with reference to young people, because like it's great to have projects that people can get engaged with, and hearing about the the early days of Triratna. I mean, a lot of the people that were going around setting up Buddhist centers were younger than I am now. So that to have that energy and that, like, we can have that vision now, in the sense, your question, Ksantikara, we can kind of dream big. I think to have a Buddhist center in every state in Mexico, like let's aim for that, and yeah, to have more unity, more diversity. I think projects that are just kind of getting going now, like the Welcoming Liberation with the BIPOC and BAME Sanghas, the Triratna climate group that's just got going. I think there's lots of ways that we're starting to reach out into the world, that I really look forward to seeing where they get to in 50 years. And I think there is so much like potential. We've had this word potential, and the confidence of the order to keep giving and reaching out into new areas.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I would like. Yeah, I also would like to see more pioneering spirit, especially in Mexico, Latin America, because I am from here. But yeah, and I think Yeah, something that for me is really important that we keep is like the intensity of practice, something like that, like an intensity of the order, something like that. I would like to see more communities and more like livelihoods, team-based right livelihoods emerging, because I think that's something that we're losing a little bit. So I would like that in 50 years, there's more of that.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, me too.
It sounds like there's a general agreement about both the kind of wanting to keep over the next 50 years something that's radical, something that a kind of way of life or being or a message that stands out a bit. Words like intensity and radical, and also this desire for a pioneering spirit. I really appreciated what you said, Moksharati, about hearing today stories of people younger than we are, sort of, getting on a plane to another side of the country and suddenly they're responsible for, starting a Buddhist movement in a new country, and that kind of pioneering spirit, and something of how attractive that is. You got
Can I
something
add
to
something?
add? Yeah, please.
I was just thinking about this thing of intensity. I'd also love to see like more opportunities for like longer retreats. I think that other side of practice, the kind of more with, I guess, the intense withdrawal and the intense engagement, I think opportunities for both of those things. So I'd like the retreat. I know Vasanta in the UK is running longer retreats. So just opportunities for us to really dive into our practice and then to be able to come out and give back. So just both those ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I also think we need to, in a way, create a more, well, it depends on the places, but a strong structure that in which we can devote all our energy into the Dharma and the practice and the order. So we don't have to, I don't know, work 8 hours a day in a completely different context, and then not having enough energy to have that intensity. So I could imagine an order in which there can be opportunities for the members to devote their entire energy to that. Yeah.
So we're already approaching the end of our discussion together. So we've been talking for about 40 minutes. So just a few minutes left this time, at least. Maybe we'll gather in another context. I'd enjoy that. And so I just want us to start to turn our attention to the fact that, there's about 90 people that we're talking to. There's an audience, if you will. I used to work in theatre, so I think I can use the word audience of about 90 people, and maybe some more people will watch this in the future. And we've come to the end of this inspiring day, talking about how Triratna has a role in people's lives now, today, talking about some of the kind of history and the lineage and of Triratna. And then we've been kind of talking just then about the future, and then turning our mind to everyone sort of watching. Sometimes if you give a talk at a Buddhist center, someone might come up to you afterwards and say, wow, I'm so inspired. What do I need to do? What can I do? So in this audience, it's probably mainly people who are mitras and order members, and maybe even some people who have been doing that for a long time. If they're all probably really inspired by listening to you speak, I can see some of their faces, and let's say they look really inspired. Yeah, here they are. They've all arrived. Yeah, so some people are really inspired. What do they need to do? What would you sort of say to them if they said, "Oh, wow, this is fantastic. I want to be part of this. What can I do?" What sort of answers would you give them? They could be simple things, but they could be big things as well. Does someone have something to say about that? In fact, maybe why don't all of you say something about that, and then we'll probably end it there. But I'll let you go in your own order. Very careful not to nod, because I'll pick on you.
I can say something. think for me, it's all about friendship. It's really hard to start to do something by yourself. And the easiest way, at least for me, it was to be friend of someone else. So I actually wasn't interested in Buddhism. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for good friends and making friends. And that's I think the easiest and more enjoyable way of starting the Dharma life, making friends with other Buddhists. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I can follow up on that. It's the friendship that carries projects through, I think. So it's, don't be discouraged or disappointed if things don't happen straight away, or, just having this bigger view of, why am I doing what I'm doing kind of thing. I mean, this question is so specific to different centers, isn't it? But if you're starting something for the first time, it's always kind of touching into that sense of being a part of something bigger, especially if you're in a small center, remembering that there are so many people around the world that you can connect with and you are connected with. And any effort you put into this, it means something, even if you don't know exactly what it is, and this finding this source of inspiration and really caring for that. I think that's the most important, because that keeps us going, and not being discouraged, and being open to connecting with more people, and knowing what you do does matter. And if that's just attending events in itself, that means something. Creating a gathering means something, starting a right livelihood. But every little bit, when we say, I'm doing this because I believe in this and I want to be a part of this and I want to serve, as Moksharati said, that means something, and we can trust that. So don't hold back on what you give and what you think you can give. Yeah.
Moksharati?
Yeah, I guess the answer will be different for each individual. So I think that reflecting on what your inspiration is really important. And one of the fantastic things about Triratna is its breadth, and it's kind of like finding your Sangha within the Sangha, with people that resonate with your practice. So that thing of friendship is so important. I think Dhammarati earlier was talking about the shape that things take in different contexts. So it's like what kind of shape is your going for refuge? What shape is your practice, and how does it, like, what's your piece in the puzzle? Because it will connect up to somewhere in Triratna, and it's like kind of finding where your inspiration aligns with others and kind of joining the flow of that.
And Moksharati, the last word from you.
Yeah, I don't have really much more to say. I also wanted to say friendship is basically what it is. No? It's not nothing more. It's being friends with people and with other Buddhists.
Yeah, thank you. Simple but effective. To stay in touch with inspiration and to offer friendship. It's so simple that you can memorize it and sort of just kind of get on with it, I suppose. Yeah. It's been really enjoyable to gather with the four of you. Gives me so much sort of joy and hope to see people dedicating their lives to something meaningful and important and rich, and willing to sort of then live their life. And there's quite a few more years to come for us. So it gives me a lot of kind of hope and joy to hear you all talking as you have this evening. Yeah, so thank you very much. Moksharati coming from Scotland, Varadhi from Australia, Moksharati in Mexico, and Ruchiramati in Mexico as well. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. So you'll now disappear from spotlight, but stay with us in the room. You can kind of join the audience, as it were, and Sanghadeva will come and join me in the Adhisthana shrine room here in the UK. And Sanghadeva isn't a young order member, but was a young order member once. was a young order member once. And since that time when Sanghadeva was a young order member, he's just really continued to give his life to Triratna, to the institutions of Triratna, for all your life since you first kind of came across it.
Yes.
Well, that's taken the form of all kinds of things, lots and lots of teaching in many different centres, cooking, gardening. At the moment, Sanghadeva is the gardener here at Adhisthana. But Sanghadeva has also really made the most of being an order member, sort of independent of his work for the Dharma. Sanghadeva recently has often been coming to the shrine room here very early in the morning to do lots of meditation. I think that's a really wonderful quality of Sanghadeva. He can really sort of sit still, look out windows, sit for hours in meditation, and then he can get up and dig a load of holes, plant a load of trees, maybe even then sometimes go and cook for loads of people, and then at the end of the day sit down quietly once again. A very inspiring man to be around. So yeah, we'll hear from you now, Sanghadeva, at the end of this day together.
Great, thank you very much. Well, it was great hearing you guys talk, and I thought, well, you've said it all. I think all of you seem to be deeply in touch with the spirit of the Triratna community, and it was so lovely. So thank you for what you said. I really resonate with what you were saying. Thank you very much indeed. I was very struck. I didn't come to the earlier session this morning, but I did come to the second session, and I was very touched by Dharma Mati, by the way, who I lived with at Majamaloka in the 2000s, the noughties. And the picture of him, Buddhadasa, and Dipankara, I found very, very touching. These three young men with Bhante, as it were, being sent off. I'm sure they probably weren't being sent off, but maybe they were being sent off to start the Dharma. And Dharma Mati talking about that beautiful feeling that went with that feeling of pioneering, and the fact that he was inspired today as he ever was. And I can say that for myself. I was ordained in 1983. I was 26. I came along when I was 23. There's Yashadeva here, who was ordained when he was 19. And when we were coming along, there were very, very few people in their 30s. We were all in our 20s, mostly in our 20s, not all of us, but many of us were in our 20s. And we were hungry for action. We wanted to change the world. I mean, I grew up during a very disturbing period politically. There were lots of disruptions in the unions. There was the Vietnam War going on. And I think I came to Buddhism with a sense that this wasn't good enough, that we were capable of a lot more. And so I think my attitude towards the Dharma was always, we need to change the world. This is our project. So when Bhante, as it were, provided us with this vision, it was completely music to our ears. It was just wonderful to hear. And so for us, it was very simple. And one of the things I've noticed over the past 20 or 30 years is the story that we tell about who we are has become clouded by all sorts of what I would call peripheral issues, either internal, the way we talk to each other, or various other socio-political issues that are washing in from outside. And I think that has somewhat clouded the purity, perhaps. I mean, I don't want to be too naive about this. I mean, these are important. These aren't, not that these issues are unimportant, but they've made the vision or the story that we tell about ourselves much more complex. And so in the early days, I can remember Buddhadasa saying, when he was attending the classes at Sakura, Bhante would be talking about the FWBO, and Buddhadasa sort of just assumed that it was a worldwide Buddhist movement. And then it suddenly dawned on him one evening that it was just these 12 people in this room in this basement in Sakura. Isn't that amazing? One man in 50 years has, through his power of his inspiration, created this worldwide Buddhist movement, which is what we're all here. And this is what we're heirs to. And as we were saying, that's that wave you see. Well, it's probably a wave that comes from the transcendental. You know, Bhante talks about the movement being founded by something that was, as it were, working through him. But I would also say, and a dear friend of mine, Vajragupta, was giving a talk a few weekends ago, and he said he wanted to remind us. He said, we are all pioneers. You know, even though this movement's been going 50 years, we're tiny. We're a tiny, and I was going to say insignificant. I think we're actually very significant in a very, very deep way, but in other ways, we're not significant yet. But I think we could become significant. And I think that is our duty or our responsibility. And as Dharmarati said, our duty is to share our experience of the Dharma with others. I think he called it duty. He called it our central responsibility is to share our experience with other people. So that is our duty. Yes. A few of you have talked about inspiration, and in Bhante's talk in the Inconceivable Emancipation, where he talks about the Sangraha Vastus, the particular one he mentions, Artacharya, he talks a lot about inspiration. And so I'm hoping from this talk I'm going to give tonight, you'll be able to take a few things away and just dwell on them. So I think inspiration is he says, and I think he might be quoting himself here, but he said, it has been said that inspiration is the single most important factor in the whole spiritual life, which is, Bhante's very careful with words, but that is worded very, very strongly. So inspiration. So the first duty we have to ourselves and perhaps to the world is to guard the sources of inspiration and to feed our sources of inspiration. And you guys were talking about that tonight, and I'm just supporting your point. I think this is the most important duty we have, is to really work on our inspiration, what deeply inspires us. And then he talks about other things, which I find quite interesting. He talks about creativity and the sheer adventure of the spiritual life. And this is what I think Dharmamati sort of was able to communicate this morning, was the adventure of the spiritual life. I think many of us, it didn't occur to us not to go out and spread the Dharma or teach the Dharma. It wasn't sort of it wasn't a sort of bolt-on extra, sort of optional extra. Sometimes these days, you know, I don't think that I'll use the word missionary. I sometimes think that the missionary dimension of Triratna community is not sufficiently to the fore of the story we tell about ourselves. And I think we probably need to turn up the volume on that missionary component, if you like, of Bhante's original vision, the going out. And we've been talking with Dharmarati recently, and we were talking about the NKT, the New Kadampa tradition, which I think have a very well established system for expanding their movement. And every year they run these big retreats where they raise money in order to support for the next 2 years, their next Dharma teachers who will go out. And Dharmarati was speculating that maybe we should do something the same. We should have a big retreat, probably at Adhisthana, and that we should gather a number of people together and raise funds for people to go out. Further to this, Dharmarati was also suggesting that we should be like we should take up the Jesuit model, which we should have a body of people who just send you somewhere. You just get sent. It's not a question of you deciding whether you want to do it. We'll send you. I think that could be quite popular. No, I'm serious, because I think one of problems that many of us have had probably is we spend so much time trying to work out how we're supposed to be leading the spiritual life or what we're supposed to be doing. You know, but if we had someone to say, someone who we really trusted, I mean a genuine Kalyana Mitra, someone who really, really trusted, maybe a body of people could get together and say, okay, we need some activities here, 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 and this is the group of people that we think are suitable. Let's get a team together and send them out. I think that could be quite a good option. It's a bit radical and it would need quite a lot of thinking about, but I'd like us to probably think about something like that. Would we like that? Would that be a good idea? Prajnaketu several years ago did some research, and he worked out that if every Buddhist center set up a new Buddhist center every 10 years, this is quite complex, so I hope you can follow it, within, by 2050, every city in the world with a population over 300,000 would have a Triratna Buddhist center. Now, so that's quite a complex series of statements there. But that is, I mean, that's extraordinary. That's one Buddhist center, starting a new Buddhist center every 10 years. That's very, very doable. I can remember Vajragupta in the noughties as a chair of a center setting up 4 outreach groups at the same time. So not only was Vajragupta the chair of the Birmingham Buddhist Center, he set up a group in Sutton Coldfield, in Worcester, in Shrewsbury, and in, where else was it? It was Warwick, that's it, Warwick and Leamington, 4 outreach groups. He was young, he was reckless. I suggest that some of us are a little bit more reckless. I think we should take more risk. This is the chair of a centre. And out of that, Shrewsbury has become a Buddhist centre. Worcester is looking for a centre, and the group in Warwick is still going strong, and that's like 12 or 13 years later. And I think it's a question of believing in ourselves. I think we have to believe that we can do it. And I think we were very fortunate in the early days because Bhante was very present. His influence was very, very immediate. And so people were feeding very much directly off his inspiration. So we are in a slightly difficult position because we don't have that intensity. But I do think we have to create that for each other. And I think we have to encourage each other in terms of what are we doing. And I'll sort of add a slight note of we need to examine ourselves here, because we also need to examine ourselves in terms of what we do with our spare time. I gave a talk to the order about a couple of years ago, and one of the things I said is, what do you do with your evenings? And I think if you really look at what you do with your time, you'll probably be somewhat appalled at how much time you spend on social media and frittering your time away on activities that are basically useless. So I would say to all of you, do examine yourselves. Can you do one outreach group a week? Can you join a group that's already existing? So think about how you spend your time and whether you could more usefully spend your evenings in doing some active Dharma work. So that would be my challenge to you, to think about how you spend your time. The world is on fire. There are many, many things, there are many, many ideas that are impinging on us, but we should never lose sight of the fact that we have something that no one else can offer. So there are lots of causes, there are lots of things that matter in the world, lots of ideologies that come from all different sides, and they're not unimportant, but what is important is the transcendental perspective. And this is what we have to offer the world. We offer the world the transcendental. Nobody else is doing that. Well, there are other Buddhist groups doing it, of course. We need to be offering the transcendental option. That's really what I think our duty is to the world. So I'd like to leave it there, and I hope you can take something away from that and take the Dharma out to the world.
Thank you very much, Sanghadeva. wonderful kind of exhortation to, I love this line, turn up the volume of the pioneering spirit. Sort of like tune into that radio station, Radio Pioneer, and turn up the volume. And this sort of duty to, sort of bring the transcendental into the world, and that being the most important duty. So yeah, a wonderful note to finish this Triratna day on together. So thank you very much. And yeah, just before we sort of bring the day to an end, I'll just sort of remind you once again to donate to Future Dharma Fund if you can, or actually even if you can't, donate something. I think Future Dharma Fund are playing a really dynamic and important role in turning up this pioneering spirit, the volume of that pioneering spirit. They really are doing things with the money that they have, and if they had more money, they could do more. I was struck by Varadhi recently took over from another person, someone called Dharma Kumara, and he was funded by Future Dharma Fund to go from the UK to Australia to coordinate the Young Buddhist project in this kind of pioneering way. And likewise, there's currently a Young Buddhist coordinator in India who's being funded by Future Dharma Fund. It's just two examples of both pioneering, but also something to do with kind of young people and the kind of future. I would encourage you to once again donate to Future Dharma Fund. At the beginning of this evening's session, we'd raised just over £4,000, and our target was 15,000. So collectively, we're going to donate £10,000 in the next few minutes. If 250 of us donated £60, then we'd reach that target. So yeah, I'd really encourage you to do that. So it's been really great to gather with you this evening for this final session. Thanks once again to all of our speakers. Also to Sanghadeva, who's been doing the technology, who I believe Sanghadeva, I think, knew Ruchiramati. I think maybe you went to college together or something, or is that right? Yeah, so there we go, got a connection there. And I'd also like to thank, I think the name was Sadaruchi. Okay, I've been reading that wrong. Sadaruchi, who has been translating into Spanish. And maybe just just the way that I thought we could end, just because we're also, this is the final session of Triratna Day, which has seen hundreds of people join us at Adhisthana and also kind of beam in from across the world. I just thought it'd be good to end with the transference of merits, both to kind of end our session, but also to end the day. So we'll do that in call and response, and then that will be the end of our evening together. So the Adhisthana Shrine Room will provide the response, and in terms of the Spanish translation, I don't know how that will work, but I'm sure it will work somehow. Okay, so just taking a moment we're coming to the end of this a really wonderful day together, both looking back and looking forward as a movement, as Triratna, and we can just end by transferring our merits together. May the merit gained.
May the merit gained.
In my acting thus.
In my acting thus.
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
My personality throughout my existences.
My personality throughout my existences.
My possessions.
My possessions.
And my merit in all three ways.
And my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself.
I give up without regard to myself.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements.
Just as the earth and other elements.
Are serviceable in many ways.
Are serviceable in many ways.
To the infinite number of beings.
To the infinite number of beings.
Inhabiting limitless space.
Inhabiting limitless space.
So may I become.
So may I become.
that which maintains all beings,
that which maintains all beings,
situated throughout space,
situated throughout space,
so long as all have not attained
so long as all have not attained
to peace.
to peace.
Yeah, so do go forth and guard your inspiration, offer friendship, and turn up the pioneering volume. Yeah, it's been really good to spend the day with you. Go well. Thank you very much.
Well done.